The government's being urged to give privatised rail operators longer franchises in an effort to improve the standard of service to passengers. It comes as Chiltern Railways celebrates its 20th anniversary, having spent more than £600 million on improvements. The company uses Birmingham Moor Street Station. In the past 20 years, the number of passengers going through has increased from around 115,000 a year to 6.5 million. Well, our transport correspondent Peter Plisner is at Moor Street this evening. I tell you what, this is a real success story, isn't it, Peter?
It certainly is, Nick, and this is a classic example. This was a derelict building until a few years ago when Chiltern lovingly restored it into their Birmingham terminus for some new London services. It's a sort of mini version of Marylebone Station, the station in London that Chiltern Railways use. The growth here is a good example of where if you invest in the railways, it will encourage more people to travel. Once a quiet station in leafy Leamington Spa, now these platforms are busier than ever. And despite rail privatisation getting a bad press over the last 20 years, Chiltern seems to be the exception to the rule.
They do their best to stick to time, and I know I'm sounding like an advert for the company, but yeah, I like travelling with Chiltern.
We've been pleased with the service.
It's always been a great service, yeah. Depends on the train that comes. If it's the big silver bullet, it's fine. If it's a little cram one, it's not so fine, so it depends.
One of the reasons Chiltern's been so successful is because of the investments it's made. One of the first was Warwick Parkway, now one of 3 new stations the company's opened. This station really is seen as a bit of a crowning glory for Chiltern over the last 20 years. When it opened, just 70,000 passengers used it. Last year, 630,000 people were using this station. The car parks had to be extended several times, and more recently, they've had to build a multi-storey to accommodate the growing number of people using this station. Chiltern's services to London compete directly with Virgin trains. Luke Morris used to travel with Virgin.
It's like travelling on a coach, in my opinion. So you're very condensed, very small seats. Whereas here, the seats are wider, it's more airy, it's lighter.
And that's another investment made by the company. It was the first privatised rail operator to order new trains back in the 1990s. It's also invested in new tracks to speed up its services. But the investments might not have happened had Chiltern not have been awarded a 20-year franchise, something business leaders say should now become the norm.
When the government are looking at duration of similar franchises, then you'd only have to look at this and sort of think, well, maybe there's a case to be made for making all such franchises 20 years.
Chiltern's management agree and are promising even more improvements in the future.
Well, I'd like to continue the Chiltern growth story, really, continuing to address customers' needs along the route and in the West Midlands, continue to improve journey times, quality of service, and be a great railway operator.
And for that to happen, more improvements are needed. Some are taking place later this month and at the beginning of August, when the line in the Banbury area will be closed for essential upgrading work. And to illustrate just how important that upgrading work actually is, today there have been signalling problems. Yes, you guessed it, in the Banbury area there have been long delays, and to make matters worse, the managing director of Chiltern Railways, who you saw in my film, he got caught up in that and was late for an interview with us.
Peter, thank you. Well, thanks for joining us here on Midlands Today. This is our top story tonight.